Hi, I'm Jacob Pyle. On our next visit to Jacob Pyle's Antique Electronics Store, we have a special show for all of you dedicated to Apple. Now, I know what most of you are thinking when I say that. Is it an iPod? Is it an iPad? Is it a Macintosh? No. It is an Apple IIc computer from 1984. And we'll go into further detail about this awesome piece of machinery on our next visit to Jacob Pyle's Antique Electronics Store.
This week, inside Jacob Pyle's Antique Electronics Store, Apple II Forever. Your host, Jacob Pyle.
Hello, and welcome to my Antique Electronics Store. I'm glad to have you with us. Each week inside Jacob Pyle's Antique Electronics Store, I'm going to be reintroducing you to some of the most fascinating and unique retro tech that you can find anywhere. Now, I've been presenting this show to you for about the past month now, and up till now, we featured mostly video game consoles and cool electronic toys from back in the day. Well, this week is a special show because for the first time in the history of Jacob Pyle's Antique Electronics Store, we will actually be featuring a computer on our show. Now, computers were a lot different way back in the late 70s, early 80s. For starters, there was no such thing as the internet back in the day. There wasn't even such a thing as CD-ROMs at the time either. So, let's say you wanted to play games or get stuff done on a computer, you actually had to purchase the games or the software yourself. The games or pieces of software that you can buy with the computer came in two forms at the time. The cassette, and what we will be primarily featuring today, the good old floppy disk. It was used to play games or access your favorite programs, and it can also be used to save files on as well. If you wanted graphics for your game, the graphics you will see when we activate these games were pretty much the standards of the 70s and 80s, but not what most of those people are used to nowadays. There was no such thing as Windows or Macintosh at the time either, although the brain minds at Apple will later come up with the idea of the Macintosh a year or two later. Most of these computers came with a DOS startup disk where when loaded into the disk drive, you have to pretty much type in what you want the computer to run. Okay, enough beating around the bush. This week in the Antique Electronics Store, we're going to look at the Apple IIc. We're going to dive right into some of its amazing features, as well as picking out some of my personal favorite games for this piece of machinery. We're going to do all that for you when we return. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Now, before I get into the details about this computer, I would like to quickly issue this disclaimer as I do every week. I am not a commercial spokesperson. I do not endorse any of these electronics that you see on the show. And also, I'm discovering these electronics for the first time as of the date this program was recorded. They have not been touched or played by me prior to this. Now, what comes to mind when I say Apple? Well, in food form, it's red. It's crunchy and it's good and healthy for you. But in the electronic world, you guys might be thinking about, the iPhone, iPad, or Apple TV. But none of you really realize what impact Apple has made prior to these. Believe it or not, Apple used to be at one time the top brand of computers as compared to such brands as Hewlett-Packard, IBM, or even going as far back as a little-known computer line as the Commodore. Don't worry if that name doesn't ring a bell. We will probably get into the Commodore in further detail in a future episode of our show. And instead of going into a big, long explanation behind the history of the company and how the computer came about, we actually have a music video that we're going to show you that gives you a general idea of how the Apple II got its start.
Remember how we started not so long ago. We dreamed of giving everyone a personal way to grow. Our dream became reality, and now we're making history. We took imagination and let it lead the way to a new world of discovery. Touching lives every day, bringing smiles to children's faces, opening doors to brand new places. Apple to forever, making life better and better. Apple to forever and ever, bringing the rainbow to you. Apple to forever. Ooh, yeah. And as the world keeps changing, we'll be changing too. Reaching out with new ideas, bringing them all to you. Our future keeps on growing and growing. Our colors keep on showing and glowing. Apple to forever, making life better and better. Apple to forever and ever, bringing the rainbow to you. Apple to forever. Apple to, apple to. Leading the way. Apple to, apple to. Apple to forever, making life better and better. Apple to forever and ever, bringing the rainbow to you. Apple to forever, making life better and better. Apple to forever and ever, bringing the rainbow to you. Apple to forever. Apple to forever.
Okay, when we come back, we are going to show you this beautiful piece of machinery. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Jacob Pyle's Antique Electronics Store, and now the moment we've all been waiting for has arrived. Ta-da! This is the Apple II computer, and if we take a closer look, you can see what this computer can do. Okay, so this here is the Apple IIc computer. Now this, I'm going to show you the front real quick. So this is the keyboard. Obviously, as you can tell, the caps lock key is missing, but it still works. And then over here you got your reset 8040 button. For those of you who don't know what that is, that's the number of columns on the screen. The keyboard button, which will either enable or disable the keyboard. And then these two lights, disk use and the power button. And then if we go to the back of the machine, and then on the, or actually let's go to the side of the machine first, and you can tell there's a disk drive here. And then if you go in back, or actually if you go on this side, sorry, boy, if I can, kind of hard to see, but there's actually, maybe I'll move this up a little bit, it might help. There we go. You got a volume dial and a place where you can plug your headphones in. And then the back, you got a plug-in. Hang on. Oh, okay. So then the back of the machine, you got a place where you can plug your stuff in, and then you also have a couple of other additional plugs. You got one for your external disk drive, monitors, an RCA plug you can plug your TV in, a computer monitor plug. And on this side you got a phone line, which and then you got a place where you can plug in an external monitor if you like, or something else. Okay. And then of course over here I forgot to show you this. This is the switch. So I'm going to turn this on. Okay. Alright, and then let's see if I can get a shot of the TV here. So basically, when you first turn on the machine, if there's not a floppy disk in there, this is what you will see. But I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to get a floppy disk for us to use. When we come back, I'm going to show you some of the cool software features that this computer has. We'll be back. Alright, welcome back to Jacob Pyle's Antique Electronics Store. And now I'm going to show you some of the cool software features that this computer has. So what you're now looking at is a floppy disk, which basically tells you about the Apple II computer itself. It's kind of like an introductory disk. I'm just going to try to get as much as we can between now and 5 minutes as possible. So, Apple presents. There's the Apple logo. An introduction to the Apple IIe computer. This was before the Apple IIc. Or no, this was after the Apple IIc. I lied. The Apple IIe computer designed to make your working time more productive. Mechanized harvest, fiscal 1985. 1 carat equals 20 acres worked. Your learning more exciting and your leisure time more entertaining. In the next few minutes, we'll show you a little of what this can do, but we'll need your help pressing some keys. You're out there, and we're locked up in here. It's quite easy, really. Just get comfortable while we move this keyboard up to the top of the screen and ask you to find the first key. So basically what will happen now is that will come up, and then it'll ask you to point out certain keys on the keyboard. So it's kind of like a game, part introduction. So this is a picture of the Apple keyboard. Please find the key marked return on the keyboard and press it now. Okay? Good, you found the return key fast. Let's do it again. When you finish reading this, Please press the key marked return to continue. Great! Now you know that you press the return key whenever you are finished reading something. You're getting the hang of it. In general, remember this rule. When in doubt, press return. This lets the Apple know you're ready to proceed. Take another look at the keyboard. It looks like a typewriter keyboard with some extra keys, but it's much more versatile and easy to use. When the Apple wants you to type something, it will display a cursor, which shows where you will begin typing. Here is a cursor. Please press return to find out more about this blinking bar cursor. Use the Apple keyboard to answer yes to the question below. No help from the audience, please. Are you using an Apple computer now? Yes. So you see, you type answers just as you would on a typewriter. And you press the return key to tell the Apple, I'm finished typing my response, it's your turn now. One of the first things you'll notice when typing on the Apple keyboard is that you can make the keys automatically repeat if you leave your finger on the key. To try this next, please press return. And this is probably going to be it because we're running short on time in the segment. Go ahead and press the key with the letter on it. Practice repeating the letter by holding down the key. Whether you're typing one letter at a time or repeating letters, your fingers can sometimes slip. This leads to this question, which we're not going to get to the question. Alright, when we return, we will have this week's Interesting Tech of the Week. Stick around. Welcome back. Now, earlier I mentioned that one of the most popular games that the Apple II had would be the Oregon Trail. Now, you can actually buy this teeny tiny handheld size version of that same game. So basically what it is, it's like a miniature version of a computer, and it has the game on there with these teeny tiny, it's got like it's like a controller pad and 2 buttons, and it's pretty much like the Oregon Trail that most of you guys are used to. I mean, the price isn't too bad. I was going to actually have the thing with me to demonstrate with today, but I wasn't able to do it. But here's a picture of it, though. And personally, I think it's one of the best things out there in the market. So, if you want Apple II fun on the go, I highly encourage getting this. They're both great products. The only difference is this is smaller than the computer you've seen today. Now, one more thing I'd like to say real quick before I leave. As many of you know, my birthday was this past Thursday. I've gotten so many nice cards and so many nice letters. We even had a party at Hacienda this past Saturday, and so many of my friends were there to help me celebrate. So, whether you were there at the party or said a kind word to me on Facebook about it, I appreciate it. I hope that this new year brings on some exciting new changes as we did last year. So, that's going to do it on our look at the Apple II computer for this week. We'll be back next week with something more exciting. I hope you guys can join us then. In the meantime, I thank you for visiting Jacob Pyle's Antique Electronics Store. I'm Jacob Pyle. Our store is closed. Good night.
If you would like to suggest topics for future episodes, or if you would like a copy of any past episode of this show, send an email to jacobpyle1@aol.com. For Jacob Pyle's Antique Electronics Store, this is Butch McCann.